Then came the Second Esopus War that started in 1663. The Mohawk again tried to intervene with no luck, and Tacapusha again helped out. His forces fought under Martin Krieger under Peter van Couvenhoven. Krieger had a very difficult time with these Indian troops and complained to Stuyvesant that they wanted everything their way. Krieger tried to humor them, gave them gifts, then more gifts, but they were determined to go back home for a bit. They even argued over the distribution of booty. To me, it doesn't sound as though they saw themselves as expendable or subjugated. And they weren't. Finally, Tacapusha, a keen politician, agreed to send 44 Massapequa troops back for a month to fight, along with the Dutch African forces, again led by Martin Krieger, in return for more booty and more gifts. It was a necessary alliance. Their lives are intertwined. They do it. They reached an agreement. On the 15th of May, 1664, the Esopus signed a peace treaty with the Dutch that included the Massapequa, who were, as far as Tacapusha was concerned, on equal footing. He sent his brother Chapicanos and 20 other Massapequas to witness the treaty signing. The victory, however, was short and sweet. And the peace that Stuyvesant, Tacapusha, and Sisiodego so wanted and worked for did not come. On September 6th of that year, Peter Stuyvesant transferred the colony over to the English commander and governor-designate, Richard Nichols. 2 years later, the French came down from Canada and burned every single Mohawk settlement on the south side of the river. That included Cataguaga. The archaeology at Freeman shows clear sites of that burning. So what happened after that? These Indian groups did not fade into the sunset, as some people think. Many Algonquins moved west to new homelands in Oklahoma and Canada, but some came back to New York to bless the remains of those who may be their ancestors. Others stayed in the area. In fact, some of the descendants of Chapicanos, who was Tacapusha's brother, in the 19th century married into the Shinnecock Nation. And the Shinnecock Nation celebrates their heritage with an annual powwow on Labor Day of every year. The Mohawk retained their presence in New York, a strong presence. Many were in the high steel business and came down from Canada to build the skyscrapers that define the city skyline. After our nightmare of 9/11, many rushed back to join the rescue and cleanup operations of the Twin Towers, the very towers that their fathers and brothers had helped build in the 1970s. This was important to them and a very emotional experience. Many sought traditional spiritual healing, and these rituals were held at the National Museum of the American Indian, which now sits, as you all know, atop where Fort Amsterdam once stood. And here's where it all began. Wouldn't they all have been surprised at how things worked out? Diana argued in the first part of our talk for the critical role that archaeology can play in understanding the Africans who lived and worked in the colony itself. In this part, I've argued that to envision New Netherland, we also have to include archaeology of Indian sites that are outside the colony. Massapequa and Freeman, I think, others may disagree, suggest, contrary to conventional thinking, some of the Algonquins, notably the Massapequa, were not expendable, and the Mohawk were not valued simply for their role in the fur trade. These sites lead us to consider ways in which the lives of all these groups intersected and their mutual dependence upon each other, especially in the anxious years when fears of the French, the English, and other Indian nations loomed. But they were astute enough to know that their interests were merged with those of Stuyvesant, Sisiodego, and Tacapusha naturally were concerned with the interests of their own people. But they were astute enough to learn that